So I didn't finish telling you the story of the puller. Basically what happened was I made two mistakes, or one mistake and one issue because of that stupid mistake. The lads behind me continue to now hand sand because they're doing the places that they can't get to with the grinders, or the sanders rather. But meanwhile we've got an issue with our P-bracket, and so I'll take this off. To get the cutlass bearing out, there are two grub screws on the port side. What I'd forgotten was that the rope stripper housing has another 3 Allen bolts on the starboard side. I had forgotten to take that off. I'd completely forgotten that's part of the procedure. As a consequence, there were still 3 Allen bolts almost holding that cutlass bearing on. So yesterday when Roy and I were trying to pull it, it was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And eventually we broke the thread on the long rod that runs through the puller. We ended up having to hacksaw it off, having got the cutlass bearing out about 2/3 of the way out. Fortunately, there's a place in town where we're able to pick up some new rods, some new nuts, and put it all back together and start again, this time having taken the housing off from the rope stripper. I think it's one of those jobs where you only ever do it once every few years when you're replacing the cutlass bearing, and so you forget these things. And this is one reason why we document what we do on the boat, is to have it as a reference. But I don't seem to remember recording when we last took the last cutlass bearing out. So, for the record, for future reference, Jamie, when you next take out the cutlass bearing, remember to remove all grub screws and all Allen bolts.
You idiot!
Yes, I'm an idiot. That is, as I said in the video, why we record these vlogs is to remind ourselves how to do the bloody jobs on the boat, and I just forgot. Anyway, as you can see, we're actually out sailing. Look, there's even a bit of activity behind us.
Woohoo!
So we're still in the boatyard, of course. The sailing, that's going to happen in a few episodes' time, but it's going to be worth your while to wait, sweat out with us whilst we're in the boatyard. Now, one of the things that people are asking about is why we don't do all the work ourselves on the boat. Well, there's a few reasons for that. The first thing is that we tend to concentrate on the work inside the boat, and we hire local contractors to do the external work. That's one reason.
And in the past, to be honest, we have done all of that work. There's numerous times when I've stripped and painted the hull while you've been doing fiddly bits, the important stuff.
And let's not forget, we're getting a little bit older and a little bit more achy. Yeah. And as you saw, it took 2 guys 2 weeks with orbital sanders to sand that hull. I would much prefer to pay someone else much younger and fitter than myself to do that.
And certainly since we've been in this part of the world where labour is a lot cheaper than it is in the Med where we started, we try to use workers as much as we possibly can because they really need the work, they need the money, they live hand to mouth, they take home the money at the end of the day, and that goes to feed the families. So we've been doing that for the last, 7 or 8 years. And the other thing, of course, is that at the moment with COVID, it's 10 times worse for them, isn't it?
Yes, and during this time, while we were in the boatyard, there was an extreme lockdown where the local government locked down the local kampungs. Kampung is another name for a village. It's where a lot of these contractors live in little communities on stilted houses by the sea. And they locked down one of the biggest kampungs in Kudat, which meant that a lot of these workers couldn't actually come in and do the work that we had lined up for them.
I mean, when they say locked down, they really were locked down. They had barbed wire. We tried to have a look and you couldn't go in. It was just absolutely zone. Couldn't go anywhere near there. We were very worried about them. We asked about sending them bags of rice and getting provisions to them. But in fact, Sabah did a brilliant job and provided for them during the lockdown, didn't they?
Yeah, these guys are talented. You know, these guys have been working in the boatyard for years. They work on the local fishing boats. They know what they're doing. So we're in good hands with these guys. So that's another reason why we get these guys to do that horrible work.
Yeah.
Okay, in a moment we're going to look at a problem that we noticed when we hauled out with the P-bracket, but not before a little advert. There's an issue with the P-bracket. On one side, on the port side, the weld that holds the housing for the cutlass bearing appears to be a bad weld. And what's happening is that water's getting inside that weld and appears to be causing some corrosion. So I've got the guy here to grind away that old weld and then redo that weld because it's not looking good. A bit of a worry in the longer term. It's going to have to be something we'll keep an eye on, but we'll see how this lad does. So what it seems to be is that weld, somewhere there is a little pinhole and water is getting in underneath that weld. He's got to grind back across the whole weld to see if he can find where that is, but I think it's where that little point was that I pointed at. So he's got to grind away all of that just to get a visual to see where it's coming from. So it's not ideal, is it? Put the push the thing in. What do you think, Tommy?
Maybe she's not enough long. She made him longer, and here no solid. This one solid.
Morning ritual. Puppies. 9 of the little buggers round the corner, so we feed them every other day and Glyn feeds them in between time. But you have to run through all the main dogs to feed the puppies first, so let's give it a go.
Hello, puppies.
I can't put the food down because Scruffy will eat it.
Right, I'll get some more food for Scruffy.
Yeah.
So this is the problem we've got. Scruffy is the big problem. The rest you can show off, but Scruffy, once he's... Oh, he's following me. Oh, hello. I've now got a puppy around my ankle. You get them, Scruffy. Come on. Come on, Scruffy. Good boy. Not you lot. No, not you lot. Come towards the end of week 3, and it's taken the lads all this time to sand back all of the old antifoul, and this leaves the little block patches left where the previous blocks were that hold the boat up. Obviously they couldn't get to those, so they're now re-blocking it, or re-chocking it, whatever you want to call it. As you just saw, we do have a little bit of osmosis. Now, it's not the big patches that you saw. Those are the old filled treated holes that we did many years ago. We're just talking about tiny little surface patches where I'd gone round and I'd put cross hairs with a pencil mark around the boat. We'll talk a bit more about this in more detail in an up and coming episode.
But while we've got you here, can I just say something? Times are hard. Times are hard for us as well as you, you as well as us. And can we remind you that we have Patreon? It's a way of supporting us for as little as $1 a month to say thank you for the videos. If you enjoy what we're doing, come and be a Patreon, come and get to know us a little better, have a better access to us. If you don't like Patreon, we have got FTB Mates, which is our own version of Patreon, which we keep on followtheboat.com, our website. We'll put lots of links below for you to work out how to do it. But Patreon has proved to be a really valuable and useful asset for us to get these videos out to you every week. It takes a lot of time and effort, and it actually costs quite a bit in lots of ways, not just the equipment but everything else. So big thank you to our fantastic patrons, some of whom have been with us for years, and to our FTB mates with whom we have fabulous relationships. So come and join us if you like it.
One thing that we've done actually with our FTB mates and patrons is to set up a Signal chat. So Signal, it's like WhatsApp, but we use Signal. And this is another way that we're communicating with our supporters, and it just allows us to give them a real-time update on what we're up to, and we're posting up lots of pictures of what we get up to, not just the sailing and the boatyard stuff, but any traveling, exploring that we're doing as well, because we don't always have good internet connection, but being able to just literally say hello, give a little update, a pictorial update to our supporters is just another great way of staying in touch with these guys.
Yeah, and the advantage also of being a patron or FTB mate is that we're able to have a one-on-one dialogue with you. So if you have specific problems, we do get lots of questions under YouTube that we can't answer. But if you're a patron or FTB mate, we will have that dialogue and we will give you the benefit of our vast knowledge on any subject really to do with cruising. So very happy to do one-on-one chats with patrons and FTB mates.